almost a grapefruit. Is what it makes out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of crazy. Yep. But yeah, that Chimera was good. And then we just kind of stopped running Chimera alone because the breeder was a little bit problematic and stuff. Yeah. So Ryan wanted to keep it in rotation because it looked so good and it was such a good hitter for us.
Fool.
Yep. So then he found a different way to like keep it in rotation. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we're super fortunate to have him, and him and Jameson run a great shop at our Centerville location, and then Adrian, who works out in Grantsville. I don't know how they make that fit.
I haven't met Adrian yet.
Adrian's super cool guy. Ryan brought him out here. He came out to work for like a couple of days when we were still working up. When we were partnered with Riverside.
Oh, okay.
Which is crazy.
Oh no. They're
in those dudes' greenhouses to start out, man, before we got Centerville online, and then obviously Grantsville came online after that. But God, we don't have nothing to do with those fools no more.
Their grow's gnarly, dude.
You know, I got stories and stories and stories I can tell about them, but legally I can't talk about those stories.
This little vaporizer.
Oh yeah, dude. The what the hell do they call that thing?
I can't remember the name.
Don't tell me you forgot the name, dude.
It's
It starts with an N, right?
Nah, it totally just slipped my mind, bro.
I don't know. Randall gave it to us.
Yeah,
Dude,
the
Dynamite. Yes, Dynamite. Yes,
Dynamite,
yes, dude. One of the homies that worked with us, like our head data dude, was ripping that like in the beginning, and I always just laughed so hard because I was like, bro, that's like a crack pipe for weed. I know it's like a vaporizer, right? But I love to fuck with it.
Oh, I mean, you're still burning it up, and then
it's crazy, man.
Yeah,
I haven't used that thing yet. I wasn't able to make it
tastes
to that
amazing,
episode, unfortunately. But
it tastes really good.
Yeah, I like that you guys have done a bunch of device reviews and stuff too, a bunch of weed reviews. You guys all went to the Emerald Cup together, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's fun, man.
Oh, that was the most.
That's the OG of all the OG events, right? Other than like what Chalice used to be. I mean, Emerald Cup is the thing.
Dude, it was a legendary experience to get to go out there and like have all of the homies out there too.
Yeah, NorCal's like different community though too, which is just like, I mean, it's the home of.
Went to like a Chinese spot at like 3 a.m.
Yes.
Yeah, we went to San Fran. We had to cross the bridge.
Dude, the food in San Francisco is just unmatched. And between San Francisco, SAC, and then any access to Humboldt, like, I mean, that's the cradle of weed, man. That's where it came from, dude.
Yeah.
The promised land.
That's where all the good weed started from, man. It's still where a lot of the good genetics come from and everything. It's cool though to see a lot of the markets like across the country though evolving too. Like Michigan's a poppin' market now.
A hella poppin'.
Dude, Michigan's poppin'.
It's going crazy over there.
Yeah, man. It's just crazy to see good weed being grown all over the country now. But don't get it twisted. California's still had it on lock.
Oh yeah, of course they do.
Dude,
They got that mountain air with the sea breeze
going
coming
through
in.
a whole bunch of hoopla out there. They seem like they're going through the grinder right now.
It's because there's so many people who are like, yo, we've been doing this for a long time out here. You're not going to come in legal market and just run us out. So hey, that's the hustle. Right? I tell people all the time, like I might be in the industry and on the legal side of things, but people are still going to do that side of it. Like I don't know.
Always, it's not going anywhere.
I don't know what you think's going to happen.
If you want something, people will go and find it. Whether that be
there is demand, and
spectrum.
people have been able to get cannabis pretty freely for a long time, and they will continue to do so. And so, however you want to consume it is your choice. You just know there's the risk you run, no matter which way you get.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy looking at what Utah has like. Even now, seeing some of the things that they've started to do for patients, allowing them companies to do free medical cards and stuff. That was a big hoop to jump over for a long time, and that just barely got cleared. I think like 3 or 4 months ago.
People have just started doing it. I think people started offering the free med card clinics when they've wanted to. You've always probably been able to, right? You can't give away product, but they can do free. They can do free whenever.
Oh, really?
Right? Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. When they were first doing med cards, there were places charging like $500.
Yeah, dude.
There was one clinic I know that charged at least $500. People tried $350, $250. The first time I went, I was lucky because it was a homie, so he hooked me up, but he was charging people like $175, $205, and I was like, bro, for 5 minutes to educate the doctor more about cannabis than they educated me, and for me to be like, just give me this card, bro. That's not everybody, but like I just feel like in a lot of ways, like, dude, what a crazy racket. So we always catch the flack because the weed's too expensive. But I'm like, talk to this fucking doctor that spends 5 minutes with people. At least we give them herb.
Yeah.
At least they get the herb from us and go home and get well with it.
And that's what's crazy. Even like talking about taxes now, the taxation that Utah falls under for getting quality product at a nice price, almost non-existent.
Dude, $3 is the state fee. You might not like what like the sticker is like on it to begin with, but dude, when you factor all the taxes in and all the travel and all the different things you have to do, like I think it's an easy choice to be in it, but I also work in the industry and get a discount too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's super easy for me to say, and I
You're in the circle,
right? So it's easier for me to say that. I feel bad that anybody has to pay, any money for it. You know what I mean? But like, it's also a commodity too. I've been paying. Remember we paid $50 an eighth, $100 a quarter, right?
Yeah.
When it was super illegal, so it was expensive.
And it was some
then.
sticks.
Yeah, right? Yeah. You would always get good weed either.
No,
This is that kind bud. You're like,
You're like, it's not. It smells like it's beasters.
All right, guys. Let's before we get too far into our conversations, too deep, let's start it off with the intro.
Let's get it.
What up, y'all?
Hello.
With JJ.
It's Javi.
Gabe.
And we got our special guest, JC, the Leafy Lawyer.
JD.
Yeah, JD.
Sorry, what did I say?
JC.
Yeah.
That's the other one.
That's
another cool cap.
Yeah,
But today we got JD.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're so excited to have you, honestly, dude. Yeah. This is a long time in the making. I feel like you've been watching our page for a minute.
Yeah, a long time. I was telling him, I think I did start following you guys back in 2024.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
That's pretty much right when we got
I think it's been that long. Yeah, that's what he was saying. So,
Yeah, dude. It's
Dang.
awesome, man.
It's kind of cool to see that you actually care about what's going on inside of the culture of cannabis. Not only are you a huge advocate, so tell the people a little bit about what you do for the industry here in Utah.
Yeah, so I joined the industry in April of 2021, working for WholesomeCo as their long job title, head of legal compliance and government affairs. So basically doing licensing, regulation, making sure we stayed in line with all the laws and the rules, kind of what a lawyer does. Because before that, I was a practicing lawyer for about 10 years. Cannabis has always been super important to me, so I jumped at the chance to get into the industry. But I've also had the chance to do a lot of policy work, and then now I sit on the Medical Cannabis Policy Advisory Board as the pharmacy representative. I've been on that for like 2-ish years. So yeah, I've been fortunate enough to get welcome into the industry and do a lot of different stuff when it comes to a lot of the lawyer regulation compliance stuff, not the growing or the processing, but the other side of it.
It's still very important, man.
Yeah, man, it's super important to me too, to try to just do what I can. I'm not a grower, but I try to respect the plant in my own way, because I think to me that's what it's all about is servicing the plant, from whatever angle you can.
Well, it's a huge 100%. Honor to be able to get to have you on today and to be able to share kind of your story with the medicine. And it's beautiful to hear that you've been able to convert such a high prestige job career and angle it in a way that's super, super beneficial for the people here in Utah in particular. Being able to not only come from the culture, but to advocate from it from a legal stance and know that there is longevity to curating a good market for us to have not only quality product, but product that you can always get for a good price. We were talking a little bit earlier about just the economic stance of Utah and the cannabis. It's beautiful to see that Utah has cannabis. I think that's something 100%. That a lot of people forget.
Yep.
And they talk about, man, we're paying too much all the time. It's beautiful that we have cannabis in the state of Utah and you have access to it now legally. You no longer have that monkey on your back.
Yep, that's true for sure. Like, I think that I always thought that we'd be one of the last states that would legalize, right? Like us in Idaho.
For sure. Idaho.
See, Idaho is actually trying to legalize, you know what I mean? But like, I think that we should be grateful for what we have, but that also doesn't mean that we shouldn't always want it to be better, want it to be more accessible for people. And that's kind of where I impact it, right? Is from trying to, increase the access for people, trying to lobby for, policies and changes in the law that make it more accessible. And that's part of what we do with the Policy Advisory Board as well. I'm proud of some of the initiatives we've pushed through. They haven't all made them into bills or made it into the law, but like also we're on record of making some recommendations to try to expand the program, more qualifying conditions, different form factors, stuff like that. So yeah, it's the way I try to impact it. But yeah, I think we can't lose sight of the progress that we made, but there's always more to do and better to do, and there might be some things you could look at in other states, and maybe we want that. Maybe some things in other states we don't want. You know what I mean? But to have legal cannabis here in Utah, from a medicinal perspective, is pretty awesome still.
It's an honor, dude, for sure.
For sure.
It's a big honor. I one day hope that we can get it nationwide, get it to our first responders, get it to our veterans for them to have readily accessible. I think that's like the next step that I would love to see, is it going decriminalized nationwide. Do you think that would ever happen? Or what do you think the logistics of something like that is?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think, under the Biden administration, you saw the federal government move to reschedule cannabis, right? I don't think that's the end goal for so many, myself included. I'm a deschedule over reschedule person all the time for so many reasons, because rescheduling only, changes the classification of it as a controlled substance. It doesn't undo all the other things that we've done in the law federally to penalize people for being cannabis consumers, or people that have possessed it, or people that have sold it, right?
And I feel like it just gives those people that, maybe have better access to the funds, pharmaceutical companies, to just come in and take over. All the mom and pop shops gone.
Well, that's the huge worry too, right? Is like how they decide to reschedule it, if they even go through with it, right? It's been held up for so many months now.
Yeah.
The Trump administration has had other things going on, you know what I mean? Not cannabis. They've said some things you would hope they would move on it, but nothing's happened to this point. I guess I'll believe it when I see it. But we try to stay involved in that. WholesomeCo has been a member of the National Cannabis Industry Association for a few years now. Myself and one of the co-founders of WholesomeCo have gone the last couple of years out to Washington, D.C. for NCIA lobby days. Look, you don't get to do a whole lot of real stuff while you're there, but it's really cool to get to meet some lawmakers and try to tell them about the importance of cannabis. I think descheduling is the end goal. Rescheduling, I think, would be nice. Would be a nice incremental step, but it doesn't go far enough.
Yeah, interesting. So for the state of Utah, the way that it's been expanding is very, very incremental. Do you think that it would benefit Utah to open up more pharmacies and more farms, or to keep the regulations the way that they are?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the $1 million question, right? Because a lot of people have said, well, we think it would be better to have more licenses, more pharmacies, there would be greater competition, prices would fall, and patients would do better. Yeah, I do think prices would absolutely come down, but you also have to wonder, does that destabilize the market? Because there are some places where they've opened up too quickly and given out too many licenses, and it's been problematic. But I'm not saying that's not the answer either. The way I think it is that demand should drive it. They made the decision early on to limit the number of growers. That was always then going to limit the number of pharmacies and the number of processors, and that's the route that we've gone. So I think that you could sustain more licenses. The question is how many, like what's the right number? Because some states have even said, hey, we did way too many, and they had to put a moratorium on them, right, for a little bit. So I don't know what the right number is. I think the right number is where you find a good balance between the ability to please the patients, and make sure the patients can get medicine at an affordable cost, but also the businesses can do well enough to be profitable. Because it's not like trying to cry over it or say like, oh, feel bad for us as the industry, but only a quarter of cannabis businesses in America are profitable, mostly due to 280E and the tax consequences on the federal level. But it's also there's also a lot of other costs of being heavily regulated. So there's some balance there. I don't know what it is. I think the consumer will always say the balance is over here a little more. Some in industry may say the balance is more over here. I think it's somewhere where the plant is accepted as like an everyday part of people's lives as a medicine, and or even as something that they use from an adult use or recreational perspective. But where that is in Utah, I don't know. We'll see. They're going to open up those 2 new pharmacy licenses. One of them got awarded today to a local group, to Boojum. But yes, the 16th one will go in Moab, and that's where Boojum will be. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, I think that that's a question to ask probably a lawmaker or somebody else that studies that stuff more than I do. Ask UDAF,
Yeah.
We try to get one.
For sure.
Yeah, I'll ask them if they want to hit the ball.
That's right. I'll be up for it for sure.
So yeah, we knew. I mean, my first impression of you, I knew immediately that you were on our team. That you were on our side of the plant, just from watching the meetings, watching the calls, and just how you went about it. So I thank you personally.
Yeah.
So for just being being on our team.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's an important part of it too, is just knowing why you got into it, why you did it. Leaving private practice, being a private practicing attorney was not like, it actually was a very easy decision to do this. I mean, it is my dream job that I'm getting to do. And so I feel really, really fortunate. But for me, it's realizing the opportunity and not wasting it, because there are a lot of people that are doing a lot of time in prison, people that have died for this plant, people that have been unfairly persecuted over this plant. All for a plant, right? Like it's just, it's crazy to see. So it's like, I owe it to the plant to do it the right way. If I was trying to do it in any different way that didn't feel authentic to me and wasn't who I am, like I couldn't do it. And that's what I was trying to do, is just be authentic. I guess it's not always people's favorite thing, you know what I mean? But like, I just try to be me, you know?
Yeah. That's great. I mean, that's how you should do it, you know?
Right, exactly.
It's staying true to yourself, and therefore staying true to the plant, man.
Yeah.
So how did your cannabis journey start?
Yeah, like what was your first experience?
Yeah, so I mean, long time ago when I was 18, you know what I mean? Like, was when I first consumed cannabis when I was in high school, and consumed it throughout college, and it's just always been a big part of my life. I mean, I joke all the time, but it is true. The first paper I wrote in college for my freshman English class was about legalizing cannabis to pay down the national debt. And I found out when I was a little bit, like a few years later in college, when I was like a junior or something, that professor had, he partook in, partake in cannabis. Nice. And so he liked the paper and I got like it. So awesome, yeah, man, it's just been a big thing. And I followed legalization for a long time. And then a lot of my really good friends, I mean, that's one of the great ways that we've always connected, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, that's kind of where it all started. I think the same place as most people, you know what I mean? I started probably a little later than some, a little earlier than others, but cannabis has always been a big thing, and it's just as much social for me as it is, the medicinal effect and the good stuff that it does for me too.
Yeah. Oh man, that's awesome, dude. I mean, whenever people start, like it's always at their own time, their own pace. Yep. And yeah, dude, I think that's so sick that you wrote a paper in your freshman year of college. I also did the same thing.
I wish I still probably had that laptop or whatever I wrote it on, or the floppy disk that I saved it on. Because I'm old, fellas. I'm an old guy. So like,
floppy disk, what's that?
Yeah,
Gabe says.
Yeah, most people are like, what is that? I started putting it in the computer and saved
this guy's probably more on your level than us. He's a little technically challenged sometimes.
Yeah. I'm bad with technology. With technology.
That's all right, dude. That's all right, man.
So, did you grow up here in Utah?
Yeah, born and raised in Utah. Was born in Sandy. Went to Skyline High School, and then went away for college and away for law school, but was here in between college and law school, and then just always seemed to make my way back here, and then practiced law for about 10 years before I joined WholesomeCo in 2021.
Utah's home, man. Utah's home.
Yeah, I just, I don't have a ton of family, but the family I do have is all here. And so just made my way back here, and originally wanted to do criminal defense. That was I wanted to be a criminal defense lawyer, but didn't end up doing that. Did mostly civil work, did a lot of civil rights work, sued the cops. I always joke about that too. And then worked for a couple of different firms, and then got hired on to do some outside legal work for WholesomeCo in late 2020. And then they pitched me on joining and being their in-house counsel, and then doing the compliance and government affairs stuff too. So
what an opportunity.
Yeah. No, it was my main mentor and boss. She's like, as much as I'd love for you to continue working here at the firm, she's like, you'd be crazy not to take this job. So I've been really blessed, man. And it's taken me to a lot of cool places since then, and allowed me to, to be of service, to something that's meant a lot to me. So.
Yeah.
Congrats, man. Just want to say that, dude. Like,
appreciate you.
Would never have thought that,
right?
Anybody could work in cannabis here in Utah.
Cheers to that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And to also think about like the company that you're working for, the grow team that you guys have standing behind you is awesome. Like, shout out your guys' head grower, Ryan. Huge love that he's doing for his own grow. He's actually breeding his own strains. He's actually cultivating Utah grown cannabis. the only Utah grown cannabis in Utah, actually, in my opinion. He's the only one that I know that's doing the breeding work on a big scale.
Yeah, we're beyond lucky to have him. And I mean, it just goes to the more than 300 people we have working for us at this point. Like, he is just a prime example of so many of the good people that we have. But yeah, it's important to me. I tell the story that I think it's like, it's like if you're running a professional lemonade stand, and don't get it twisted, like knowing how many lemons you need, how much water you need, how much sugar you need. Yes, very important, the business side of it, right?
Yeah.
But also the people come to the lemonade stand for the lemonade, right? And so the lemonade's got to be really good too. And we're just fortunate to have him, have the other team. I get to go in the grow, every so often and see it. And it's just amazing because if you need to ever be kind of re-energized and refocused on what's important, go see a room full of cannabis plants.
Oh yeah,
that's for sure.
That's a great saying. For sure, I love that. For
sure, it's so peaceful. Other than the fans and the lights being on, it's just nice and quiet in there. Mm-hmm. And he really has done some amazing things, and almost all from seed too. That's the part that I think just can't be underestimated. And that's no knock on clones or anything, because that is not even my side of the world, right? I don't grow. I've never grown. I'm never going to talk, bad about anyone that's ever grown cannabis ever, or how they do it. But
no culture.
It's been amazing to see him do it all from seed for the most part and select it all and get to be a part of it too. So yeah, shout out to him, but shout out to everybody that's a part of our team, and shout out to anyone that works for any of the industry, anywhere in the industry, anywhere in the country. Because you're still working with a plant that's federally illegal and something that can still could cause issues for you, and you have the courage to do that, either for yourself or for the plant or for some other reason. Like, I think it's awesome. So I just feel beyond lucky to be a part of that, a small part of that club.
And I don't think very many people realize that as well. Just because you work in the medical industry here in Utah, if the federal government wanted to come in, shut down everything, and say, all of you, trouble.
Yeah.
All of you, trouble.
We're lucky just because with the medical, there is a little bit more protection under the federal law than there is for adult use. Yep, there's still a provision that makes it into spending bills all the time that talks about specifically not being able to spend money to prosecute people involved in medical, like legal medical operations.
Interesting.
But hey, something could always still happen. It's no one's ever safe, and to know that so many people in the past haven't been safe from this too. It's that part just makes it always kind of scary. And you see what's going on right now with the federal hemp ban, at the federal level, coming here in a year. Like, that's going to be a lot of heartache for a lot of people again over the plant. And I always just hate to see it go backwards and see prohibition win out. It, to me, just regulate it, find a way to make it responsible for people and make people responsible with it, like we've done with so many other things in society. And hey, cannabis kills as many people a year as unicorns do, so I feel like it should get a little bit more, a little bit more normalcy. I think people should normalize a little bit more. But hey, it's been fighting against stigma since the 1930s and whatever. So
yeah, it's definitely came a long way, but we still have a lot more to go.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. It is really cool to kind of put into perspective just how many states have opened up cannabis too in the last 10 years. Like, the 10 years of the last 10 years of the industry have been astronomical, like in cultivations and grows doing like in-house seed work. So more geneticists than ever have came online. So people have now gotten access to these seeds, and they are going to keep them. That they're in their homes already, in my opinion, and people are always going to do this. So I don't understand or see what they think is going to happen by re-regulating or redirecting this. The people that want seeds in bulk are getting seeds in bulk.
Yeah,
and can manufacture them on their own now.
Yep,
you can't back up.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Like, I think that we've tried prohibition of multiple different things, right? In America, right? Alcohol, didn't work. Fueled the mafia and organized crime, right? And people were drinking it like it was still legal anyways. Cannabis, the same thing. I'm not saying that you don't need to have laws, you don't need to regulate it, like, or have boundaries around it. But like, I think this idea of we'll just prohibit it either initially or we'll prohibit it again, and that'll just stop everyone. It's similar to what they're talking about here with THC caps, right? If you've been listening to any of the chatter on that, it's the same here as it is in other places, right? Everyone's like, oh, if we just limit the flower to X percentage, we limit your vapes to this percentage, we limit how much can go in gummies, all stuff, it's just going to make it that much better and safer for people. And it's like, guys, it's actually all it's going to do is force a lot of these people to go get it from a different source.
Right. Not
saying that's right or wrong. That's your own choice, right? But like that's going to force those people to do that. You're going to only make it more difficult for patients. Like you're not going to stop people from consuming cannabis.
If anything, you're going to make people break the law.
Yeah, you're going to turn a patient into a criminal. I know that's a phrase that a lot of people have used, and it's just I think sometimes the short-sightedness of that stuff is it's like you do so much better to regulate it than to try to put the genie back in the bottle, for lack of a better way of saying it. So just regulate it, make people use it responsibly. I don't understand why it's so difficult. Education. Cannabis I'm a big proponent of education for sure, and it's what I've always said is like you have to explain to people what cannabis is for, what cannabis is not for, right. And then just normalize people being able to possess it. And they may have to do certain things around it. They may have to consume it in certain ways, but you shouldn't just try to make it illegal because then they're just going to go get it somewhere else. And that's not going to be ultimately what's best for everyone.
And what's crazy is the society that we've been put into is THC is everything in cannabis, right? We talked about this a little bit earlier. Patients go into your guys' shops and what are they looking for? High THC percentage. That's all they care about. They don't care about anything below it. And it's due to poor education, right? So I feel like I've finally figured out a way that can describe THC and its usage for people to kind of get a visual representation of it. But THC is like, imagine your body is a bus, right? Your body's a bus, THC is the driver. You're always going to have a driver, but do you want a NASCAR driver or do you want a normal bus driver when you're just trying to do an everyday task? Right? So are you trying to go 200 miles per hour on your everyday? No. Right? But you do need THC there, and it is going to be your driving factor. But if you look at the vibe of the bus and how the bus is functioning, you need CBD, CBG, terpenes, stiols, alkalines, esters. All of the rest of the bus is curating the vibe of it. So you can go to work or you can be on a party bus.
Yep.
The cannabis.
The more of the cannabinoids that you can have backing your THC component up makes it a funner, fuller experience for you to get to where you're going.
Absolutely.
Right? So there's a really big misconception in what people think the influencing factor is in cannabis. It's not just THC. And there's so many things that we don't even test for because they're so expensive and hard to test for, like alkalines, esters, thiols.
Yep.
Those things are also psychoactive components and are huge in the aromatic expressions of the plant. But we can't test for those and have it still be $50 an eighth.
Yeah, exactly. And that's some of that's the cost of regulation too. You know what I mean? Like I think that's how I try to help people understand sometimes why the cost is what the cost is. Like they have to hire people like me, right, to work for the companies, right, because of how heavily regulated it is. So I'm not saying it shouldn't be regulated at all, but also that's a cost that goes into it. There's the testing costs, there's the licensing fee costs, there's all these things. So you just that all just gets factored in and balanced into. But one of the things that I say about the illicit market versus our market is that it's not that you can't find good cannabis in the illicit market, but I think that's not a truthful thing to say either. But I think they don't have to do all the same things that you have to do in the legal market. And by doing those things in the legal market, you can confidently say to people, hey, this is clean medicine, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's past the required testing and things like that. But that's a part that I think is always hard. And you always have the competition too of the surrounding adult use markets and things like that. So I think sometimes, it's hard to have that price conversation with people, especially because it's hardworking people spending their money and a lot of money on it too. Do I wish health insurance could subsidize it? Right. 100%, right? That's why it's important for me, the work that I do is to try to find ways like that to try to improve some of the things, you know what I mean? Because that's the way I can try to impact it. But yeah, it hurts to see people have to spend so much money on the medicine and not have it be able to be covered by insurance, and see the things that are covered by insurance for some of those pharmaceutical drugs that are really destructive for people. Not everyone, but some people it's really destructive for, you know what I mean? When it's like that gets subsidized by a health insurance company, but cannabis can't, that might actually be a more beneficial medicine for that individual.
Getting 120 capsules of Adderall doesn't make sense for anyone. I don't care who you are.
Or a continuing prescription of opioids, you know, when it's like, you know, clearly
past
it's not,
a year, past 8 years,
yeah, see all the time
15
in pharmacies.
years.
Like, well, if you think about cannabis, when it was first legalized here in Utah for medical, I mean, your card was good for, you know, what was it, 30 days originally or 90 days?
First time 30.
Yeah, it was 30 days was the very first one. And then I think it went to 90, and then you know, we had to fight to get it to you know, from 6 months to a year. Some people still be trying to do 6 month cards and telling you, oh, the only way you get a year is to come to me twice and da da da.
Yeah.
Like I get it, like that there has to be some responsibility around it, but it's crazy that there's no other medicine that there's some card for. You know, and I talk a lot about trying to normalize it, and that's one of the ways, you know, and that's part of what we try to do through the policy advisory board that I've been fortunate to sit on. And we've got a really good group of people in there that I think care a lot. And so whether it all makes it into a bill or not, we're making some good recommendations. So I'm stoked to be a part of that, and was really fortunate to get to join that when it first started a couple of years ago.
I think it's awesome to hear you say that other people other than you are advocating for us properly.
Yep.
Are wanting more cultural things to also come into play, because cannabis is a culture.
Yep.
That's one thing. They're trying to institutionalize a culture that's been here way before the institution. Right. You know?
Well, for me, I said this. I've said this. I actually just said this yesterday to someone. You know, the government excused itself from cannabis for like 100 years almost, right? Like starting in the early 19-teens, states started to outlaw cannabis. 1937, the Marijuana Tax Act, right? And so on from there, 1970s, Controlled Substances Act. So you've had a long history of prohibition. It's not until 1996 that California legalizes medical, and then really 2012 when Colorado and Washington, I think 2012, 2013.
Yeah.
That's when they go, you know, rec. So those are your first adult use states, right? So now you're a decade into that, but the federal government excused itself and the state governments excused themselves for so long. Cannabis developed the way it developed, right? It developed in the shadows, it developed in the hills, right? It developed in all these places. People didn't start growing cannabis indoors because they thought it was a better way to do it. They grew cannabis indoors because it was a better way to not get caught, to conceal it, right? Mm-hmm. The best way to do it, if you can, is outdoor, out in the sun, right? The indoors created some amazing things, but the outdoor is where it started, right? And
can't replicate the sun.
Yeah, so I think you can't lose out on what the culture is. And we even see this too. We've had different tours and different policymakers and lawmakers come through, and they'll ask questions about the product names and say like, I think one of the guys said, well, I'd never, this was when we had, I think, grape ape, I don't think we had it in flower, but in some strain, some product. And he was like, I would just never go to the doctor and get grape ape prescribed to me. And we said, yeah, we understand. It's a little bit different. That's what's a little bit different about it. But that name, grape ape, actually means a lot to the people that consume this medicine too. So like, it might seem really loony to you and you wish it was whatever the infomercial on TV is.
X4YZ3.
Whatever it is, right? Yeah, whatever those names are. I think you wish it sounded, it sounded more like those things. It just doesn't. And to me, that's where you have to understand that it is different in some ways, but in other ways, it's no different than any other kind of medicine or consumable, not pharmaceutical, but nutraceutical, you know?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love how it's also changing the way that people look at health and at taking medicine and what kind of medicine they're supposed to take. Because when it really comes down to it, it's just like, is the only way that we're supposed to get healthy is through these pharmaceutical drugs that, are lab tested and going through all these things and all these rigorous tests, which are great and they do help people. But, there's also a lot of things that help people medicinally that aren't tested, that aren't proven, but it's just like it's the whole Eastern and Western medicine thing.
Yep.
Where like a lot of Western doctors don't recognize the fact that the symptoms aren't the only thing that need to be treated. It's the whole self that is getting treated. It's a lifestyle. It's exactly, it's a lifestyle. And when it comes to cannabis, it's just like that's I think that's a big part of the culture, is that these people that were continuing to grow this plant illegally and doing it with all of this fear and anxiety, they were still doing it because they knew that there was something special about this plant. They knew that this plant helps people. And I mean, it's also been cultures for thousands of years, apart from that. For sure. But it's also really good to be seeing, seeing people change their lives when they start using cannabis. And like I've seen people start using it from, age 21, because, working at pharmacies. They get their cards at 21. I've seen kids come in there with their mothers, like that were on the compassionate use board, 18-year-olds and all this stuff. And, like it doesn't matter what age they are, 50, 60, 80, they come in and, like there's a lot of hoops that they have to jump through. There's a lot of tension. Like you said, like they have to spend a lot of money, and it's not like your regular pharmaceutical. It's like, okay, take this for 10 days and, it'll be clear. Yep. It's, like try this, see how your body feels, see how you feel off of it. Yep. And then you have to titrate, or you have to start taking something else, or try a different method of consumption. Mm-hmm. And it can be very frustrating, but for the people that it does help, it's awesome, because it's like once it clicks, and they're changed people for life. Yep.
It's kind of crazy. My mom was a correctional officer, so she was a police officer. Long story short, she ended up having a bunch of medical issues. She was epileptic. Introduced cannabis to her, was like hell on wheels, was shying away from it when I brought her a nug for the first time. Got her to hold it, and we smoked that day for the first time. And instantly my mom flipped, like completely. My mom now in like wintertime, she'll go out to Arizona to a nudist ranch. Heck yeah, she fucking grows weed and shit, dude. She's a little hippie girl now. I think it's awesome to see my mom blossom. Finally, she's been so deprived of, in my opinion, the light that she has now and what it's cultivated for her, the style of person that she is, the energy that she carries with herself every day. It's beautiful to see that the plant has helped her express herself more.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you get to see that with so many people, right? I think that's a lot of the stories you hear of why people's minds changed on cannabis. Oh, hey, my grandma, right? Oh, my grandma had cancer, and my grandma had a chance to try cannabis, before she passed away, and it was really meaningful for that period of time. Some people have been able to replace complete regimens of pills, some of the people that I work with and stuff too. So to see it be life-changing for people too, like it makes you feel good about it too. Like that's the other thing. Like when I was in private practice, was it awesome to get a great result for my client and see a big check delivered, right? And to be able to give that to your client, for sure, that was great. But is it even better to know now, like that what we are selling people is truly meaningful and helpful for them, you know what I mean? And it's having an impact. Like I go home at night and I'm like, I feel good about what it is that we're doing. It makes it easier to do it, because this is not an easy thing to be a part of, no matter at what level or part of it you are, you're the role you play, whether you're on what I do, right? More of, pushing paperwork around and doing, lawyer stuff, or whether you're growing it, processing it. Everyone has a great role to play. And I, for Green Wednesday last year, I just thanked our team, and I said, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And with cannabis, I think that's really, really true. The how shows up almost more than the what does.
No, for 100%. Sure. And I think that one thing to really touch on while we're in this little topic is home grow being so valuable, for the sense of how much plant remedies you, just by growing a plant, by working a plant, touching a plant every day, seeing something come to life, holding something throughout its life, finishing its cure cycle, all the excitement and energy that you get building up to seeing this plant grow. I think that is so medicinal, that is unmeasurable. You cannot measure the value of actually growing a plant and seeing that plant develop, and knowing that this is your medicine, right? This is something that you're not only going to eat, you're going to consume in many different formats, right? You're going to consume this plant every which way you can. for me, I think that that's one thing that I really hope to see in the Utah market start to really get re-recognized, something that was almost taken away from the Utah people when the bill was initialized, and then when 215 went through and they scrapped it last second, that was like the little sliver that they were like, oh, it means nothing. Doesn't mean nothing.
And I think, for a lot of people, what was in Prop 2 around home grow, I think sometimes gets a little bit misunderstood. There would have been home grow rights, but you would have to have lived more than 100 miles away from the pharmacy, right? So it would have worked for many people in rural Utah. I would love to see it more. I don't know how many years ago it's been, but I wrote an article in Salt Lake City about, Utah should consider home grow. I think as a medical state, you should have a right to cultivate your own medicine. But again, it's one of those ones that I think from a like perception, it's a really hard one for a lot of people to swallow on. And what makes me the saddest, and this is not here in Utah, but in some other states where home grow has not yet happened, to see the people that advocate against it. And sometimes it's the legal industry that advocates against it. And look, you from a business perspective, you're like, okay, yeah, they're going to grow it at home and they're not going to come get it from me. I get it. Like, I'm not dumb. I understand why you would take that. You might take that position, but it's just sad to see that you would try to actively, push against that. So no one's really, pushed for it here in Utah from a policy standpoint. I think it would have a really big uphill battle here. That and Flame to Flower, I think, are two that will have a real big uphill battle here convincing people of. But I very much have supported home grow, and I don't know if any of those copies of that magazine are still floating around.
It's funny that
Cole from Salt Lake City might have one, but for sure, like that was one of my favorite ones to write because I do think it's an important component of it, and the people that want to control like that part of their medicinal experience and want to have the ability to say, no, I know exactly what went into it, and now what's going into my body. I think they should have that right too. But it's a foreign concept for a lot of people when we think of traditional, as you said, Western medicine,
What I also really think that people forget in the higher ranks, very small people know how to grow a plant. Crazy easy to grow cannabis.
Tomato plant.
It's extremely hard to grow something that you will smoke. That you want to smoke, or that you want to consume,
or even cure it.
It's like when I see people when people bust into a grow or something and they take it with them, I'm like, you got to go home and dry that and cure it, right? It's not gonna be great, like straight off the chop,
So many people forget. It's really easy to grow bamboo. It's hard to grow a good bamboo tree that's 16 feet tall, or whatever, in this time cycle. So how convenient is it to just go and buy your flower, right? I feel like the amount of people that would be trying to continuously grow would be like little pinhole in the industry.
A super small amount of people.
Super small amount.
And you'd also find a way to be able to hopefully provide those people with the seeds to use, the clones to use, the cuttings and stuff, right? Like it could be another avenue for the community and for business too, So I don't know. I wish it were as free and as legal as tomatoes are, and you could give it away for free to everyone else, but that's just not really how it works. But those are really important things to push for too, because it's about access, and I think that's one of the things we sometimes miss is that it's making sure that every Utahn that wants to get access to cannabis for medicinal purposes can do so, and that they can do so in a variety of ways. But sometimes that proves to be harder than easier said than done. You know what I mean? That's what your hope is, and it doesn't always turn out that way. But that's part of what I like to do, and I like to push on. And a lot of it's educating people too, and trying to break down the walls and the stigma. And I say hearts and minds all the time. That's what it's the business that I'm in, is trying to win hearts and minds. When it comes to the policy of this stuff. So.
Oh yeah, 100%. So have you been a patient since 2020?
So I got my card like 3 or 4 months into the program. Back when all you could get was a single eighth at Dragonfly. Remember when it was still
more than that?
Yeah, man, dude. When the Redbeard Farmer was the only dude growing cannabis.
Man.
If you see this Redbeard Farmer, bro, I remember you.
Man.
I don't know.
Granimals.
Granimals, bro. Yes. Let's go. When they were like one jar, you know what I mean? So yeah, did get my card early on. And so, yeah, I've watched it evolve, along the way, and then now getting to work in the industry, you get to see, all of it. I remember, when you thought, you'd seen an eighth of cannabis or something, the first time you even went into like a, in a dispensary in a different state, and you're like, man, that's so much cannabis. Now getting to work in the industry, it's like, man, that's a lot of cannabis. Yeah. You feel a lot different. And also too, it's just great to see it get moved to people that need it too. And, sometimes when people come into the store, they're not always the happiest, but I guarantee by the time they get home and
settle into their product.
Yeah, man. So it just feels good. Yeah. So that's been since 2020, man. It's crazy to think that it's almost 2026, man.
Yeah,
dude, it's pretty crazy. It's been wild.
I don't know where time has gone since COVID, fellas. It's all a blur.
I know.
Especially after Thanksgiving. I don't know what happened, but
yeah, lightning quick.
But just talking about some of the product that you brought in today, just the Obtuse OG smells awesome. Really love this.
It's Pure Plan.
Pure Plan did that one, and then your guys' Tokyo Rose. Really enjoyed the flavor profile on this. Thought it was absolutely awesome. Huge thank you for bringing these in house and allowing us to try some of the stuff that you guys have been loving on, for sure. What's something that you specifically have been just kind of like running back to?
Yeah, I mean, it's anything with our disco fries in it. It's the disco fries flour to first start out was really, really good. They hunted through a lot of different phenos in the one that they decided on. This has a really unique terp, and Ryan's had a chance to cross it to the Amnesia OG, so now it has a little bit of that kind of cheesy gas to it a little bit.
Awesome.
So it just makes it a nice cross. So I like that. When it comes to generally what I like to consume, if it's in a concentrate, I'm much more of someone that wants fruit or candy. Every once in a while, if you give me some gas, I'll like it. Huge fan of anything with permanent marker. We haven't had a ton of different permanent marker stuff, so the Hawaiian Rain times permanent marker was good. They're working through some other permanent marker crosses and some stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm a Skittles fan, but I've mostly become a concentrate consumer. Honestly, I still love flour and that, but rosin has really become one of my favorites. And it's things like, it's innovations like Puffco and different things like that have made it accessible to me. And so I think about access very differently than I probably used to. I used to be, I guess, a little bit of a weed snob, if you would say that.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't consume it in a certain way, like, you don't really know. And now I take the position of like, however you get to it and however you get to consume it and enjoy it and provide benefit to you, it makes never mind to me how it is, and my wife kind of had to school me on it, which was funny because she was like, I'd always rail on people like, oh, that person only eats a gummy, and she'd be like, yeah, but I only eat a gummy. And I was like, so trying to kind of change my perspective, like, however you gain access to it, however you gain access to it, I need to quit being so uppity, about it. And I feel like that's actually a good way to be respectful of the plant too, because it's the plant's in there, right? So it's like they're getting it one way or another. And I think it's brought more people into the community and into the conversation that would have never been a part of it before. You know what I mean? Like, so that's the other part that's kind of cool, because we work with a vast amount of different people at WholesomeCo in our management structure and stuff. Like when we get to do management meetings and stuff, I'm very different than so many of them, but also if cannabis weren't available in so many forms, or maybe so, as accepted as it is, they probably wouldn't be involved in it. So it's like, it's cool to see them, be like, oh yeah, I can be involved in this too. And it's one of the reasons I took my position with WholesomeCo was to say like, yeah, I can be a lawyer and do this too. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, so, I think that was one of the important reasons I kind of started getting involved just in the community, like when I initially did get into the industry, even before when I was in private practice, trying to find some clients, that were businesses and stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's always been very welcoming, right? Whether it was being a part of the very first Utah Can ever, which was years and years ago, but even coming to get to do something like with you guys, like I'm just humbled to be able to come and talk about this stuff and then tell people like it's what I get to do for a living. People ask what I do for a living, and I say I sell weed, and it's not like that's not actually what I do, but I say that and the reactions are always pretty funny. Most people are cool with it, but some people always joke too, and I'm like, it's medicinal, guys, it's legal, so.
We're legal over
that's
here.
Right.
I'm a legal drug dealer.
Yeah, legal drug dealer is the best one.
Yes it is, and it's usually you get a good reaction one way or another from people.
It's funny, I tell people that too. I'm a manufacturer, though. I'm a drug manufacturer.
So I got a question. If there's one thing you could change in the industry, whether it be a law, or not, what would it be?
Here in Utah, or just here in Utah? You know, I would really like to see them. I probably have a couple. I would like to see them, you know, open up qualifying conditions for cannabis. I'd love to see more medical conditions qualify, and quite honestly, what the Policy Advisory Board, you know, recommended at our last meeting, to get rid of the compassionate use board and allow doctors to be doctors for all patients.
Right.
Minors 18 to 21, over 21, and recommend it for any condition that they see, you know, kind of professionally fit. I'd love to see that. You know, Flame to Flower is another one that I think that you should have a choice how you consume it. So many other states don't treat it the way that we do. I understand Utah will always have a good argument around the medicinal nature of vaporizing cannabis. I can't dispute that one bit, that it's more healthy to vaporize it than it is to smoke it, right? But I think people should have the right to do that. I think that's an unnecessary way to, you know, kind of distract people from maybe getting their medical card for, you know, if that's one of the hangups. I'd hate for that to be one.
Devices are expensive.
Yeah, dude. Puffco, as cool as it is not inexpensive.
$400.
Yeah, dude.
It's access.
Yep, exactly. And that's another thing. It's accessing things. I think I'd love to see more form factors available here in Utah that you can't get in other places. Some of them are smokables, right? I know that probably isn't likely to happen, but those kinds of things, I would definitely change. And then if we're talking about the federal government, I would just deschedule cannabis altogether. I'd do a whole lot for us.
Yeah. I really would. Yeah, we would.
That would be a game changer.
What's one thing that you think that the Utah industry has going for it?
Yeah, I think, you know, one of the things that's nice about it is it's a tight knit community here, right? Because there's not a ton of licensees, so you know everybody. Yeah. You get a chance to meet folks. Which is really cool. I think in other places that happens, but maybe not on, you know, like maybe it's not as, you know, don't get to be as close. I love that you do get to have, you know, from my job perspective, I get to have access to the regulators and be able to talk to them on the phone. I know them by first names and stuff, the lawmakers and stuff too. Mm-hmm. It makes having those conversations easier. But what I like most about just cannabis, and whether it's industry in Utah or anywhere else I've been and met people from industry, everyone just seems to be super, super cool and like welcoming. I know there's a lot of beef because I go on Instagram all the time and see all the stuff. I've met
fake internet beef.
So many cool people, right? And a lot of the coolest people that I've met are from some of the biggest brands too, right? Like, you know, you see them on, you know, IG, and then you have a chance to go see them in an event, and that's what I like. And I love getting to meet the people here in the Utah industry, because it's cool to see other people working for other companies, not just the company I work for, making good cannabis and doing it in a state that I'm from that, as I said earlier, I never thought we'd ever have legal cannabis here.
Yeah. And it's an honor to work so I work for Pure Plan. Yep. It's an honor to work for them. They've done everything that they can to ensure that we have the tools and the amenities and the actual knowledge of curating the products to influence SOPs of curation. So like making sure that we're just always properly taking care of our product.
Pure Plan, man, I think is one of the great brands in Utah. But I think all the brands try to, you know, for the most part, do a really good job. You know what I mean? And Trent's a super awesome dude. I've known Trent for a while, but even having a chance to meet Trent's family, that's you know, a part of the business as well. You know, his dad and his mom and stuff, and they're super cool people. And I know you work for Dragonfly, and I've had a chance to spend a lot of time with Nareth and other folks.
That's who actually got me the job.
That's awesome, man. He's a good dude, man. He's super passionate about it. Yeah. You know, he's outspoken about it. So yeah, to me, that's probably my favorite part is the people. It's my favorite part about cannabis in general, industry or not, is just the people, you know?
Yeah, I agree 100%. The community, the people, the culture. Yeah. And that's what UCC is all about.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what keeps it alive. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's kind of how it all started for us too. It's like when the industry first started up and we started hanging out consistently, just like after work, we just wanted to break bread with each other, hang out with each other, because for the first time in our life, were we in a work environment that we found our homies, like people that we wanted to go and like actually invite to our barbecues and
like-minded individuals.
Yeah, come to my family stuff. You know?
Same for me. Like when I worked at the law firm where I worked at before I joined WholesomeCo, it was in between, right? There was the young pup lawyers that were right out of law school, and they were probably like 25 or 26. but I was like mid 30s cat, you know what I mean? And then the next group, so that was me alone, kind of mid 30s guy. And then there was like 50, 60, 70-year-old older lawyers. Like my best friend at the law firm that I worked at was a 60-some-year-old woman, right? You know what I mean? Now awesome. Mentor, right? Like, but that's like who it was, right? So like when I got into the industry and just meeting all the people, and it's like you said, it's like those two people actually want to spend time with outside of work, you know what I mean?
Right.
And stuff, you know? Right. Our company parties when I worked at the law firm were, you know, in the boardroom where, you know, everyone was still talking about work. You know, now the company parties are, you go to places and you're like, oh, this is actually like a great time and we're socializing. So it's like, it's like, I think it was the first time in a job I felt like I was at home. Yeah. But it was also something that had been a part of me for so long. And so you already knew if we were down for the same thing, if we had the same connection,
you're like, we're like, friends for sure. Yeah,
it was like automatic friendship, man. So yeah, it's just lots of good people, and that's what it takes, right? And I say all the time, you know, when I try to talk to our folks, I say like it's about you all and like what you do. It's the hourly workers, it's the agents, it's the people that work with the plant day to day. Yeah, hey, it's great that I get to do, you know, things like help the business stay licensed and all that nerdy stuff. You know what I mean? That's cool, and try to help be a leader in the business. But what they do, you know, don't get it twisted. That is the most important part of it. And so I'm always just so grateful to them, you know what I mean? Like, no matter where it is, the agents are what's most, you know, probably the best thing about it and the most important thing about it.
And it's so cool seeing all the different characters that our community
I wish they'd make a show, and it's crazy to have been in it right now, you know, since 2021 and not even since the beginning, to think of all the characters that have come and gone and all the different people that I've met and stuff that are just, you know, and some that are still around, right? Like Cole, you know, Fulmer from Salt Lake City, right? Like Cole and I have been rocking for a long time, man. And we sit back like we're just these old men and go like, man, can you believe we're still around? And some folks are, you know, but like it's so cool to meet new people. Like I'd seen you a bunch on Instagram, you know what I mean? And now, you know, just dawned on me today, like, oh, that's who you are. You know, hit you guys up, and you guys were super cool about, you know, wanting to get together. And so it's that, you know, it's the opportunity, and it's the community and the camaraderie. And it's important because we're still dealing with a federally illegal substance, you know?
Yeah, very true. And it's cool. It's funny. So JC told me that you and he had a buddy that
we have a mutual friend. Went to high school with him. Yeah. He was actually, when he was at our grand opening for our new drive-thru, which, by the way, if you guys not seen our new drive-thru, you have to come and just see it.
I heard the ventilation was crazy.
You drive in and out of the building, dude, to get your drive-thru, so it's hilarious.
Whoa!
Yeah, it's like a drive. They were like, well, what do we call it? Is it just a drive-in? I said, no, you have to drive back out. So I said, it's a drive-in, drive-out. They're like, that's too long. And I was like, well, it's technically what it is. But yeah, a high school friend of ours, and he actually took a little selfie and sent it to him. So it's cool. And
he sent it to me too, and he was like, I found him. I got him. The picture. I was like, sick.
Yeah, no, JC's a good dude.
He showed me that. I was like, oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy to see that like so many people from Utah are the people that are now huge influencers of the way that the market's currently going. It's not a bunch of out-of-state people. There are out-of-state companies, but there are a lot of in-state people that have been here their whole entire life that are actually running the companies. And that's pretty cool to see, is like Trent and JC will be like, oh yeah, I've known him forever, him for like 19 years. And I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah, no, it is. And you do have, you know, your multi-state operators here, you know what I mean? And it's really cool to see some of the local companies. Like I said, you know, Boojum was just recently, you know, just today got the 16th pharmacy license. You know, they're local, you know, they're a Utah-born, you know, company, and that's awesome. I mean, WholesomeCo, you know, was founded by, you know, Utahns, people that worked on Prop 2, you know, and stuff like that. The Dragonfly story always is a really cool story too. I think, you know, I mean, that family has a really cool, you know, story, and how they came into the restaurant business and everything they've done. Almost all the stories I've heard of everyone that started here, you know, that are Utah-born companies. It's really, really cool. But I also think too that, you know, the realities of, you know, how cannabis licenses are required, the expense of them, the larger companies are going to have an ability to do that because of the amount of money they have and different stuff too. And that's what's hard about trying to figure out like who are all the right people to have licenses or not, you know. And I know that ends up being heavily debated amongst people, like, you know, and I know a lot of the people that are unhappy with the way the program is, people that have left the program for one reason or another. I know that's a lot of the criticism criticism they have is there's not enough licenses, there's not enough opportunities, and I don't think they're altogether wrong. But again, like I said, I think it's part of like how you balance that all too. But seeing Utah folks win in Utah is cool. Right? I mean, I'm Utah 100%. Born and bred, you know what I mean? So,
we want to see us come up. We want to see everyone come up.
Yeah. Just like I'm sure in any state, right? They want to see their people do well. You've seen enough different things that people have tried with licensing and stuff to try to ensure that in-state people get them. Yeah. It's an important thing to people to have it to be like, you know, hey, this is Michigan grown by Michigan folks. This is Utah grown by Utah folks, you know, California grown by California folks. Like I think it's an important thing, but I also love how available it is too, and how many different markets are starting to blossom too, and see cannabis, you know, come from all over the place and all over the world, honestly, you know, from some of the places.
And what was funny is like when we went out to the Emerald Cup, how many Utah cats we ran into in other spots.
Yeah. So because we wore our merch, we had Utah Cannabis Club.
That's awesome, man.
And we were just, you know, walking through the convention and people were just Utah! You know?
From Utah?
Yeah.
We're from Utah.
Yeah, we're like, what?
We're from Payson.
I mean, that's what most people had to do, right? Because it was illegal here and it was opened up in other places. They had to move. And I know of a number of people that had to move to other places to get jobs and then have come back to be able to work here. So super cool, you know, to be able to see Utahns doing it.
Oh yeah.
What a blessing.
It shows that no matter what, people are gonna find what they would like to partake in.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. Yeah. It's
people enjoy something.
Cannabis is like water; it finds a way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's a plant. It's a plant. It's gonna find a way.
It's gonna grow.
Yeah. So do you have like a legendary Utah strain or Utah product that you just always have loved that you
can't get your hands again?
Oh, yeah, that's
Cool. I love one of my favorite icebreaker questions to ask people is I play it's like kind of the 3-strain game, right? It's what's your like all-time strain? Mm-hmm. What is your what is one that you had and you can't get back? And then I can't remember what the third one is, but I always say like I remember, you know, starting with, you know, OG Kush really was when OG Kush got big, really loving and enjoying that. But also when you were younger, it was the weed you had was the best weed you had, you know what I mean? Like, but in Utah, I've been a fan more and more of some of the different concentrates. I really like what Pure Plan has made. I really like some of the stuff that Moxie has made. Flower wise, again, I think some of my favorite flower that we've actually done, the Z Pie, I really like. I just really like Skittles. But there's been some other good stuff that I've had as well. I definitely remember some of the Fatso from the Sugar House Selects. Mm-hmm. Dude, really good, man. Dragonfly's had some different strains that I've liked. I really like anything with that super boof terp in it, whether it's in concentrate or flower. It's just a really good, that tangy terp is nice. But yeah, I think that what I really hope is there get to be more good concentrates in the Utah market over time. And I think, you know, Pure Plan's been doing a great job. So has Moxie. I've seen good stuff from everyone. And that's a cool thing to see too, is see people evolve, especially in a place like Utah that didn't really have, you know, a true cannabis culture when the market, you know, kind of started here. So yeah, we're a little bit behind. Yeah, we got a little ways to go, but it's cool to see people do good things and see things they're proud of too, you know? Oh, yeah. So yeah, to me, my favorit thing is whatever's next. Yeah, for the most part, man, I'm a new guy. Yeah, man, to me, I like to enjoy the flavor. I like to enjoy the smoothness. I like to enjoy the experience. So anything that gives that, that's what I'm usually more, you know, more interested in. It can come in a variety of different ways.
Keep an eye out for our Ace and Gary.
Okay.
Our Ace and Gary, I have very, it's like permanent marker with a little bit more berry.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned that you're a big permanent marker fan.
Yeah. No, it's one of those cool terps that I think they've found in the last few years. That's just a bit different. It's like that Disco Fries terp. It's just so.
You think it was Sea Junkie? Permanent marker?
Yeah, permanent marker is Sea Junkie. Yeah. Yep, and that's where the Hawaiian Rain times permanent marker did come from. Yeah. And it's an awesome one. I mean, basic permanent marker, you know, regular permanent marker is great.
Oh yeah,
too. So, have
you ever had Cherry Expo?
I have not. I've heard that's from Greasy, right? Greasy Genetics.
That's Greasy.
Yeah, I had a chance to meet him at a First Smoke of the Day, their podcast.
Oh no way!
I'm big supporters of those dudes, and so because I like give money on their Patreon.
Yeah,
I got to go to a couple of like reunions reunion parties they had that they held in LA. Like they don't pay for you to go, but like I think you get a free ticket to get in. So I would go. I went a couple of times, traveled out there for him. Dude, that was super fun. And I got to meet Greasy, and he came with Cherry Expo to like the second one I went to, and he was handing it out to.
You didn't snag none?
No, you weren't trying to. I said hi to him because I was like, I've seen you on a podcast basically, or I've seen you on IG. And he was like, yeah, what's up, man? And just kept going, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, that's a cool thing too, is to go to some of those things and see some of the people that you see on, all the different podcasts. But those First Smoke the Day dudes were super cool.
Yeah, that's one of our big inspirations.
Cody doesn't do it anymore. I know it's just Lance, Black Leaf, but they both have been really cool to me, and I still interact with both those dudes on social media. Like they were not too cool to interact with some regular dude from Utah. Awesome. You know what I mean? So that's what I found. For a lot of the guys, like even Dave that I got to meet from Preferred Gardens. That dude's killing it, and he was super humble and cool to meet too. Had a chance to meet Fidel, you know what I mean? Like, dude, Fidel's, I've seen
baller, dude,
super cool dude, you know what I mean? And it's just been cool to meet all those guys. Got a chance to meet Doja at one of those First Smoke of the Day parties. I had
That's awesome.
My wife was with me, and I said, hey, this is the guy that I want to meet. And so I'm just gonna go up to him. He was getting his picture taken, and I went up to him and talked to him, and he chopped it up with me.
Doja's
actually cared, dude. Actually cared too, you know what I mean? And then I saw him the next year, and he's like, dude, I remember you. You're the dude from Utah, right? And like I was like, dude, that's crazy, man, that you'd remember someone like me. So I don't know, I fangirl out sometime, I guess, over these dudes in the industry and stuff, you know what I mean? But it's also super cool too, because a lot of them, show a ton of love too.
We met Swami Emerald.
Dude, the old guy that's always in the white, big long beard, that dude's super
Swami,
cool.
have you ever checked out any of his genetics? Mm-hmm. Super cool stuff.
And he's just such a great cannabis character too. You know what I mean? Like just has such a great look to him. And the Emerald Cup too is just the OG. So you guys probably got to see so many.
Dude, we got to smoke on Frenchie Cannoli's daughter's hat.
Oh yeah,
that was fucking tasty, dude. She just plopped out big ass ball onto a fucking hookah thing. It was just like passing around the hookah.
That's the other great thing about those events too. You know what I mean? It's just everyone's session and all the different stuff going on too.
Yeah. Conversations go wild.
Yeah.
You have so many good conversations, and it's from so many different places in the world that like. They live different. They live way different.
Well, cannabis has been, if you think of it in terms of an agricultural product, cannabis has been carried to further ends of the earth than any other agricultural product, right? They've found it in so many different places, so many different times where people have been consuming it. And it's just, that's the other part of it too. So there's so many different cultural aspects that people have overlaid onto cannabis. Mm-hmm. We were fortunate enough, I don't know if we found a keeper or not, but we got some seeds from Uganda, you know what I mean? And we were able to plant those in our outdoor field this year. And some of them were the meanest looking sativa things you've ever seen.
Really?
100% away from those things. I was anxious just looking at them. Yeah. That's also super cool too, to be able to do that, you know what I mean? And get those.
Are you guys going to stretch them?
I don't know if those will I don't know. I think they took those down kind of last as the season was ending.
Oh, no.
But probably when we started to run into a little bit of weather too. So I don't know what they did with them or didn't, but Ryan ran some of them. Who knows? Maybe Ryan kept a cut or two of them, but it was super cool, you know what I mean, to get to do that stuff too. And that the landrace stuff I think is just always really fascinating too, and see the different places where it comes from.
Yeah. Even how different the seeds are. The seeds are huge.
Yep.
They're little freaking cherry pits.
Yep. So it's just cool, man. I mean, just to see cannabis be more free than it's ever been, I think is really awesome. But it's also what I think makes it so frustrating and sad that it's not more free, and that people are still being persecuted over it too, So that's what you owe a lot of stuff to. And I've been fortunate enough to get to do a little bit of that work. We worked with the 40 Tons brand a little bit, similar to Last Prisoner Project, some of these other ones, Freedom Grow and all that stuff. And dude, we collected in 2024. We didn't do any events this year with it. We did a letter writing campaign for prisoners, right? And we collected over probably between 800 and 1,000 letters that people wrote to prisoners, through us, that we would do at our events and stuff. Definitely fallen out of touch a little bit with those guys, but still that's a big part of it for me too, is advocating for the reform of it, so those people that had to suffer so much don't have to. Because no one should be in prison for a plant. And one of my favorite quotes is, as soon as your dispensaries start to look like Apple stores, it's time to start letting a whole lot of people out of prison. So that's the other part we can't forget, is because we're so fortunate, I'm so fortunate to have a card in my pocket that allows me to legally possess it here in Utah and get a chance to consume and have the benefits from it. But there's also people, I guarantee you, out at the new prison by the lake that are in there because of that. And, thousands, 20-some thousand people that are still being incarcerated for it, and writing letters to those folks, especially some that were doing life. Dude, that's crazy.
Life for a plant.
Absolutely crazy. 60, 70, 80 years, getting what they call a basketball sentence, because the number's so, so high. It's like they score in a basketball game, So that's the other part that I think you can't
that's
forget
so crazy.
about.
That's somebody's life.
Yeah, man,
like,
it is.
People
all because they were doing something.
Words.
They were doing something before, the government said it was okay or not to do so. And I understand there are consequences that come along with our actions, but to know that that society's changed its opinion on it so much, but that these people are all still just wallowing away in prison, man, is just super duper sad. And I've had a chance to meet some of those folks. I mean, one of the guys that's local here, if you've ever heard the name Weldon Angelos, Weldon got sentenced to 55 years in federal prison over what amounted to a couple of ounces. Wow. You know what I mean? And ultimately he got out after doing, I think, 12 or 13 years. And I've had a chance to connect with him. We haven't talked in a little while, but super cool dude too, and a great advocate, for it. But man, 12, 13 years for what amounted to a couple of ounces, Yeah, he did
That's
wrong.
Crazy.
Right? He did wrong at the time, but it's just crazy what it'll do to people's life. So just another reason, right, that I take this, as seriously as I do and try to do right by the plant, because I feel so lucky, because that could be me, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Could have been anyone.
Could be anybody, right? It could be anyone. So yeah, it's important to remember that part too. Not to put too much of a damper on it, but that part's, super important too, to talk about.
Yeah, no, it's not a damper at all. It's the reality.
Yep.
That's what's really cool about having a platform. We can talk about it. We can actually shed light on something that has no light. Nobody wants to talk about like that specific things because they're in jail. They can't talk about it. They're not out here advocating for themselves. They can't do anything behind closed bars, Yep. So I really appreciate you shining some light on that and giving some different perspective for sure.
Yeah, and I mean I even had to go to the trouble of putting together a PowerPoint for our own company, right, on what to do in case you encounter law enforcement, and I sent it out to everyone, because that's an important thing too, right? We've had people from our business either get pulled over.
We should learn.
Or yeah, be happy to share it with y'all too, for sure. You know what I mean? If you ever heard of the guys, the Pot Brothers at Law, that's a lot of where I steal my shtick from. You know what I mean? Of just don't, just shut your mouth when cops ask questions. Although there's another little word in there. You know what I mean? For sure. But yeah, I just think that's the thing too, and it is a reality of it. But it's also why. It also is part of what gets me up to do it all the time too, is to know that people have faced persecution over this stuff. And so it's part of what motivates me, because it's not going to be right. I think someone once said, not in relation to cannabis, but in general, like there is no justice until we're all free, and I think that's the big part of it, is we've got to find a way to square that part of it too. And I think honestly, that's part of what's been the holdup at the federal level too, is they don't want to, there's many people that want to deal with that part of it. But there's some people that are like, can we get to that at some point, just not now? And I think a lot of people are saying, no, that has to be a, part of it. And here in Utah, right, like you can get your record expunged, for cannabis offenses, but you have to fit a very, very like specific criteria, and almost no one can qualify for it. So it's almost like it's, it's not true reform. But there are some states that have done incredible jobs of wiping away people's, criminal records, thousands of people at a time and stuff. Not enough, but, there's been some, some things there.
Shout out Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, she has done some work on that.
Yes, she has.
No, yeah, that's, that is a big thing. And like, I didn't even really think about it as well, like on a federal level, that is a big holdup, because I'm sure that would also create a big change in, just the prison system in general. Like, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people that are in jail for cannabis.
Yep.
And for all of them to, say be released maybe in the span of a year to 5 years, I think that'd be a huge change and something they're maybe not ready for, like you're saying.
Yeah, well, and I think everyone's always waiting when, like, the president gets to a place where he's going to, leave office, and they're waiting to see who's going to get pardons and stuff. There are so many people that get them, and they are deserving, but there are so many cannabis prisoners that just don't.
Yeah.
And it's super sad to see. And a lot of these people we've been writing, the letters to that I talked about, they're all still in there. Now, one guy who was he didn't get as long of a sentence as many, and he's now out into a halfway house. And I've had a chance, I messaged him a couple of times on Instagram, and he responded back a couple of times, but it's really cool to see him find, hopefully he'll get his freedom soon and get out of the halfway house. But it's also really set him back. And his arrest came 2 years after the last alleged sale they had made. And I'm not saying that, hey, he should have gotten away with it or whatever, but 2 years, what was he still doing that presented a danger or a harm to the community? But some of these other people just get caught up in so much other stuff.
How do you improve that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just once the federal government comes for you and they put a case on you, you're usually gonna lose. It's just the way it goes. And the thing that's hard is Weldon faced this, right? Weldon took his case to trial. He could have probably gotten a plea offer for a whole lot less, but he did not believe it, and he wanted to take a trial. And so you get what they call the trial penalty. And so they usually seek the harshest sentence they can if you take it to trial. And that's what happened to him. 55 years. Can you believe 55 years? That is a lifetime.
Why is it so black and white? That's
just for wanting to defend yourself.
Defend myself.
It's hard, dude. It's hard. I think sometimes, we talk about being innocent until proven guilty, but I think sometimes it's you're only as innocent as the amount of money you have to pay a lawyer, or as innocent as the justice system wants you to be. You know what I mean? And a lot of people get chewed up and spit out by it, and that's why anytime you can see any of these people that have gone in and served time and gotten out, Weldon has, I don't know if his brand is still going, but he had a brand for a little bit. 40 Tons has a brand. This guy named Luke Scarmazzo, who was actually in with Weldon, and he got in basically because he made a music video about the feds, and was obviously selling cannabis, right? And so that's what hit the attention on him. And he did, I think, 18 years before he got out.
Jeez.
He's now out. He's got a brand and stuff, right? So it's really cool to see a lot of those people get a chance to come to the table. And there's so many other people that have been affected. So I can't speak from that perspective because I've never faced the persecution of it. I've not done jail time for it. Mm-hmm. But the respect I have for the people that have, and the fact that they deserve a chance to be a part of the industry too, is super important. But again, a lot of states are, you can't have this in your background. You can't have done this. So it's another way to just victimize and make this illegal, mm-hmm. and engage in, prohibition again. And it just relocks people out from something that they might be really, really good at.
Yeah.
You never know. Maybe before they went to prison, they were the dude that had, that was growing it. You know what I mean? That had the best
killing the game.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So it's just too bad. And so I love to get to see those people have an opportunity where they can. But again, cannabis it's such an expensive thing to get into for one reason or another, and the way they've chosen to legalize and who they've said can be in it and not. It's interesting who is who runs and owns the companies. Lots of really, really good people, but also a lot of people that have gotten into it to make a lot of money. No different than probably some other industries, but a lot of people that have gotten into it maybe for not the same reason that I would or someone else would, and that's their prerogative. But you just see a lot of different things, and I think in some ways a lot of what's coming out of the industry now is the people that are really passionate about it and that are really doing it well and respecting the plant. Mm-hmm. You think about some of the biggest brands and the people that are behind those. It's the plant, right? It's the lemonade at the lemonade stand, not the lemonade stand.
And it just shows up at the end of the race. These people start to pass the ones that aren't as passionate.
Yep.
So Pretty Box isn't selling anymore.
Yeah, for sure. I say, another one of my cliche phrases is to say it's like a European sports car, man. Like if a European sports car had a Hyundai engine in it, and you wouldn't think it was as cool. But if it's a Ferrari with a Ferrari engine in it, you'll probably think it's gonna be pretty cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the engine is what the cannabis is, and I think you can't ever forget that. But the car that's around it's important too. So it's kind of like your bus theory, but in a different way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's really cool. Just talking with you about all this. It's been super introspective.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm excited to do this. I did a couple before. I can't even remember. I did the I Am Salt Lake long ago when I was still in private practice and really new to it.
Yeah.
I did the one that Utah in the Weeds.
In the Weeds,
with Tim Pickett. I remember doing that at his office over in Mill Creek and stuff. And so it's been a little while. I think one of the other things that is really fun too is we've gotten to start this new nonprofit. I don't know if you guys have seen it going around on Facebook or Instagram called Keep Utah Medical.
I have.
So one of the co-founders of WholesomeCo, Alex Orge, and myself have started this Keep Utah Medical, and it's not that we oppose adult use, right? But we think that Utah could strengthen its medical program in a way that you wouldn't need to usher in an adult use program here. And so that's part of what we've been working on. And a lot of those policy initiatives I talked about around qualifying conditions and telehealth for new and renewing patients and just stuff to create greater access, ease up on some of the advertising restrictions so we can tell people a little bit more about the program. I don't want to have the ability to put up a billboard that says, come get your eighth from WholesomeCo for $60 or $50 or whatever. No, we're not going to be able to do that, but being able to make people more aware of it. And so that's been a cool thing that we've been doing. We've been doing a little bit of too. And so Alex is awesome. I mean, Alex was a major part of the Prop 2, campaign to help get cannabis legalized here in Utah. I always joke with him and call him the godfather of medical cannabis in Utah, which he hates that nickname, but that's certainly not who he is. But he was a big part of it too. And to get to work with people like that is super rewarding, too. So yeah, it's been nice to be involved in some of these things that are not just the day-to-day work of being a lawyer for a company here, an in-house lawyer, getting to do some of the policy stuff, the policy advisory board, that stuff is super cool. But getting to come on and just even be with you guys and meet you guys is super cool too. Cause I've been watching you guys for a little bit and I'm just grateful to get the opportunity, because anytime I get a chance to speak about the plant, especially with like-minded folks, I always enjoy it.
Oh yeah.
We appreciate it a to dude.
Get to break bread with you here in a little bit too.
Yeah, absolutely, guys.
Break into some of this stuff after we get all wrapped up.
Yep.
For sure. Yeah. But I'm really, really grateful for this episode. Do you guys have anything else that you guys would like to talk about or cover?
Man, I just want to say I very much appreciate you joining us as well, because it's stuff like this that a lot of people don't get to see in the part of the industry, even myself, it's just like, and I've been a part of the industry since late 2021. And it's just, it's something that's just very important. And man, I appreciate the work that you do. I appreciate, like JJ is saying, like you're not even on that you're on our side, but that you're on your own side, and you've known that this is something that you wanted to do for a very long time. And the fact that you've gotten the opportunity to be able to do that is awesome, dude. Like I love that.
It's a dream.
It's a dream, dude. It's
one thing. I'm the lucky one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's what I say is I'm super lucky.
We truly
cannabis,
all are.
Cannabis, cannabis saved me. You know what I mean? Not the other way around.
Yeah, dude, that's right, man. It's awesome. I did want to ask though, what are your thoughts on like mom and pop shops happening in Utah? Like, you think that that's going to be something that might be able to happen?
Yeah, I know in other states they have micro licenses and some stuff like that. I think it depends on what the appetite is of lawmakers to do that and give out more licenses. I think look, last legislative session, you saw the initial bill that was introduced ask for up to 40 pharmacy licenses.
Oh.
That scared a lot of people.
Everybody was like, that's
really
too much.
Quickly.
Too much.
And so then you saw them decide on 17, but then it was a hard cap at 17. I think it would be really cool to see some craft come too, right? And see people have that ability. Yeah. That I think also is going to take a mindset shift on the part of policymakers and lawmakers to see the need for those types of licenses and those types of things. But yeah, I love being able to support those types of groups too. It's just with the way Utah has set up its licensed market, it just never spoke to that.
Yeah.
And I think it would be good, but yeah, that's a question I think to ask the people that are the lawmakers, and see what their opinion is on it. Based on where we are with licensing now, I'm not sure that's how they feel about it, but it would be cool to see. It would be cool to see micro licenses and different things, and it just to be a little more, a little more accessible in that way for people. But
but still just medical.
Of course. Yeah. No, that's and to me, it's like I said, I am not anti-adult use. I just think for the Utah program, there is a way to improve it to a place where it can remain medicinal. Yeah. And the benefits that type of program provides.
Oh yeah, everybody's medicine looks different. The way that they use it, the way that it influences them. So yeah, cannabis, whether it's at the end of your day and you're just trying to relax, or if it's at the beginning of your day and you're just trying to get started. So many people use the same strain for two completely different things.
And I think that's part of what makes it hard for people to understand it too, is because it is that free flowing it is that, the different form factors, the different onset times, the different reasons I might use it. And I might use a topical to help me sleep. I might use an edible to help me sleep, but I might also use a concentrate or a flower. And I think sometimes it's really hard to wrap your brain around that. And I might use different cannabinoids at different times to do different things, right? I might use a little more CBD than THC in certain instances or whatever, right? I think it's just, that's part of the, why it's hard for people to understand. Again, going back to even what you just said about, micro licenses, a lot of it is there's the education and the not knowing. Mm-hmm. And look, when the not knowing happens, even in any type place in life, what do you go off of? Either what you've heard or what you're afraid of, right? So like, if it's what you've heard about cannabis, you've probably heard a lot of things about it over the years, right? People have said all sorts of things. I remember when they used to have that one commercial where the girl was deflated laying on the couch, right? You know what I mean? But then also it's like, well, if I've not heard a lot of good things, then I'm going to be fearful of it too, right? And a lot of that happens as well. So again, it's that education component. It's almost like you have to talk through that before you can get to the next part of it. It's part of why we've been fortunate to bring some folks through our facilities too and have them come and tour it, because I think they walk away with a very different impression.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Ah, nice. One other question.
Of course.
What do you think that, I mean, people like us in the industry and also like viewers and just people that are in the industry right now could do to, I mean, I guess help the mindset shift for, I guess, some of the people that are lawmakers, Yeah,
I think part of it is, first of all, learn who your local lawmakers are. Follow, the Cannabis Governance Working Group that meets every so often, right? They are lawmakers that write the cannabis bills. Mm-hmm. If you are inclined to support a group like Keep Utah Medical, go to the website and sign up for that. But find ways to talk to those people. But more than that, honestly, in every room you're in, talk about cannabis. Talk to people about cannabis. Talk to not just your friends and those that are like-minded, those that may not see it the same way as you, and just tell the truth that you know about it, and leave it at that. Because to me,
dude, you should have seen me at Thanksgiving, man.
Yeah, I think it's a great time to get to open up people's eyes to it, because that's part of what I try to do too, is to say like, hey, it maybe is not what you think it is. So I think that's a great way to start. And look, the legislative session starts, right after, President's Day in January and runs through the first part of March. Find out when those hearings are. At least go to those things. At least read the bills, see what they're about, and try to get involved. It's not easy, but it's also something to where you can stay informed, but have conversations with people generally. What's up, pup?
Sorry, dude.
All good. But I think that's one of the best ways you can do it, is just be an advocate on your own level, but also you advocate for this plant and this program by just working in the industry too. You know what I mean? Like that's another part of it that's super important as well. You know what I mean? So I think get involved however you feel comfortable. I'm up there a lot, you know what I mean? So if you guys ever like, hey, what's going on? Just, hit me up. I can let you know, but go to the Utah Legislative website and you'll see the bills. Type in cannabis in the little search bar and go to the bills and you'll find it.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, there'll probably be 4 or 5 bills this session. Maybe not 5 this year, but maybe 4. So.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anything that you're excited for?
I'm excited for the potential, I hope, of expanding on qualifying conditions, just because that is something the Policy Advisory Board, recommended in favor of. They also recommended in favor of at least decriminalizing, smoking. We did that earlier this year. So I'm hoping those things, but
like flame to flower,
like yes, decriminalizing your ability to put flame to flower inside your home, I think is where I think that's where we eventually landed on it. Just so it would no longer be a criminal charge. It could still end up being like a civil infraction, right, where you can get a fine or something, but nothing that's going to put you in jail at any point. So I think if I remember correctly, that's where we landed on it. But yeah, those kinds of things, I don't know if that'll all make it in bills. What I really hope is that there is no potency cap put in place. That potency cap, I think, would just be really detrimental. And the thing is it's been interesting to see the Department of Agriculture and Food and Dr. Brandon Forsyth, who runs the program, speak out against potency caps because of the potential to require, fillers in vapes, right? I don't have it's a 1 gram vape and I can only have it be 60% THC. Well, what's the other 40% that's going to be in that 1 gram of, of cannabis? So those are the things I'm probably most looking forward to not happening. But what I look forward to happening is anything that's going to increase access for Utahns and make their experience with cannabis in Utah better and more accessible. Because I know that'll be good for business as well. And anything that makes this thing more available to people always makes me happy.
Do you by chance know what they would want to cap at?
No, I think they'll throw out random numbers, right? It's like 30% flour, 70% on concentrates and anything else, and these many milligrams per piece and this many milligrams per bag. And it's always some just arbitrary number that never is tied to science. It's more so just we've put a limit in place, and we can feel good that there's some limit. It's that's a lot of what's hard about it too. Is a lot of it's rooted in reefer madness and fear. And
it's not backed by science.
Yes, it's not backed by science. But then they say to you like, well, where's your science? I said, hey, if you would reschedule it or deschedule it, we could study it. Yeah, I said, I have a whole bunch of anecdotal responses for you. Like, well, that's not scientific. I said, sorry, that's what we've got. You guys forced us to be, word of mouth about this stuff and not be able to study it like you do all your other traditional pharmaceuticals.
And they don't want to study it.
Harvard opened up. Harvard did open up.
There are a lot of universities that do a lot of really cool stuff. You know what I mean? And a lot of people study. Even here in Utah, right? There's the medical cannabis, research center up at the University of Utah. They've done symposiums the last couple of years. That's something you guys should look into trying to go to. It's a good educational event to go to. I mean, it's a lot about research, but there are people trying to do the research. One of the members of that the center is on the policy advisory board.
I tried to go to the last
She's
one.
super cool.
Missed it.
Oh yeah, for sure. It comes once a year. It's up at the U, and it's really awesome to do. If you guys get a chance, I mean, I've gone the last couple of years, and it's really cool. So yeah, mostly just, I mean, every year at the legislature, it's just let's keep it legal.
Yeah,
let's keep it legal. Let's keep it medical. That's what we're hoping. Just
could you believe that they would like take it away? Is that a possibility?
I don't think it's a realistic possibility, honestly, to repeal it like entirely and make it illegal again. But it is things like potency caps. It is anything that further regulates and decreases access to it. And that could come in the form of, not allowing certain form factors, and other things, pushing people into other markets, making it more difficult. And look, to the legislature's credit and to the credit of some of the regulators, it is not as stringent as it was when the program first started. But there are some major things that we would love to still see that we haven't yet to see that they've seen in other states. And I think that's part of it too. Is it's like, well, if it was good for them, why can't it be good for us too? So that's always the thing is, it's incremental, and we're happy with what we get, what we can get, but it's never going to be enough because we just want to keep working towards normalization.
Yeah.
That's the end goal.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Jinx. You owe me a dab.
There you go.
Speaking about a dab, you want to try that super boof?
Sure, man. Let's do it.
Let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
Hook them up, man.
Yeah.
All right. Let's
Well, yo, that was a great episode, dude. Thank you so much for joining us, JD. Yeah, this is for sure. I think this is a monumental episode for UCC. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like this has been very educational. I think it's gonna be very educational for all of our viewers and just the Utah community in general. Man, like this is awesome. So I just want to thank you again for coming through. This is UCC. Would you like to shout out any Instagram handles or anything that people could follow you at?
I mean, the Leafy Lawyer. I think it's _Leafy_Lawyer on Instagram. That's mostly where I am. I don't post a ton, but I'm pretty active. So if you follow me, I'll probably follow you back. I think WholesomeCo's got. I think it's WholesomeCo UT something now or _UT or something. I don't know. They lost a couple of pages and have it. But really, anybody, man. I follow the Pure Plan folks and anyone. Shout out you guys and your handle. I've been excited to follow you guys. So yeah, that's how you can find me is the Leafy Lawyer.
Perfect.
Well, appreciate you, man. This is JJ.
This is Javi.
This is Gabe.
And this is JD.
Appreciate you guys.
This is UCC. What it is.
Peace out, y'all.
Perfect. That was such a good episode.
Yeah, dude, that was great.
Hell yeah.
Thank you, dude.
Yeah,
man. Like, it's so cool.
Any chance I get to talk about it.